It's crazy, but a Honda S2000 costs more than a Porsche Boxster. When I bought this car on the same lot, they had a Honda S2000 around the same time period that was selling for $4,000 more. So here are 3 reasons why the Honda S2000 sells for more than a Porsche Boxster. Reason number 1, maintenance. Honda parts are cheaper than Porsche parts. Also, the IMS bearing scares a lot of people away from buying a Porsche Boxster. Beyond that, some people would rather have a front engine car because it's just perceived as easier to work with. The IMS bearing on the early cars, they have the dual row bearing, low rate of failure, and some of the later cars they have a low rate of failure, and the newer Porsche Boxsters don't have them at all. But there are retrofits for the IMS bearing that make that a non-issue. And then the front versus mid-engine, Porsche actually designed this, while it's not as easy as just flipping open a hood to get in there, they designed it very well to where there are access panels to change belts, there's an access panel to get it above, and you can do a lot from below. So getting into the engine, actually, you have a decent amount of access. Reason number 2, production numbers. I'm not sure most people would ever think to say a Honda is more rare than a Porsche. Yeah, there's hardly any of those Hondas, but there's Porsches everywhere. No, usually it's not that way because Porsches cost more money. Same thing happened with the S2000. The Porsche was a more expensive car originally. Yet production numbers of the Boxster are much higher than the S2000. From 1999 through 2008, 110 Honda S2000s were made. That's worldwide production. Compare this to the early Porsche Boxster. 1997 through 2004, Porsche Boxster production is about 160,000 cars. That's 50,000 more Boxsters in less years. No wonder the Boxster saved Porsche. So the S2000 is less common than a Porsche Boxster. There's still a lot out there, but they're less common than the Boxster. Beyond that, the S2000 is also out of production. The Boxster, they're still in production, so they're still making new versions of it. Reason number 3, the engine. The Honda S2000 engine has more horsepower, 247 horsepower for the early model, and revs up near 9,000 RPMs. Now, having said that, all of its power is at the top of the power band. Above 7,000 RPMs is where you don't start feeling that engine. In fact, when Motor Trend tested the early Boxster, not the Boxster S, just the regular Boxster, and the Honda S2000, they were able to get the manual Boxster to do 0 to 60 in 6 seconds. The Honda S2000, they managed to get it to do 0 to 60 in 5.8 seconds. However, that was with them riding it out. When they didn't fully use the engine and they shifted at a more modest 5,500 RPMs, took over 11 seconds for that same S2000 to go 0 to 60. And even though the S2000 has more horsepower than the early non-S Boxster, it has less torque. 153 pound-feet of torque for the Honda S2000 versus 181 pound-feet of torque for the early Boxster, in cars that weigh roughly the same. And with the Boxster S, you get very similar performance to the Honda S2000, in fact, possibly a little bit better. Now on the used market, they're about the same price. What should you do? Should you get the more expensive Honda S2000, or should you get a cheaper Boxster? They're both roadsters, they're both mid-engine. The Boxster will cost you more in maintenance, especially if you don't do it yourself. It won't break the bank unless you buy a really poorly maintained one, but it'll still cost you more than a Honda. But to non-car people, it is much more impressive to drive anything with a Porsche badge than to drive a Honda. I mean, that's just the way it is. We're badge snobs, let's face it. Also, the build quality of the Boxster is a little bit better than the Honda. The materials, while this is a very plastic interior and cost-cutting compared to earlier Porsches. Well, not all earlier Porsches, but some earlier Porsches. The Honda S2000's interior is going to feel, while modern, it's going to feel a little bit less expensive because it was. It just makes sense. They were in different markets in a way. They're both roadsters. They're both fun to drive, great handling, both technically mid-engine, even though one's mid-front engine versus mid-rear engine. But the Boxster is the more exotic option. Well, should you save your money? Well, I did. I spent less and bought the Boxster, and I'm glad I did. Will this lead to a million terrible comments about how the Honda S2000 is better? Yeah, probably. But for me, the Boxster, I'm a Porsche guy. This is my third Porsche, and I just wanted a Porsche over a Honda. Having said that, you can't go wrong with either car. They're both great roadsters. They both handle incredibly well. They both are plenty fast and just fun to drive. So get down in the comments and let me know what you would choose. Would you choose the Honda S2000 or would you choose a Porsche Boxster? And for me, a regular Boxster is pretty good, but hey, for similar money, you might go for the Boxster S and get all the performance and more. And the Boxster is just more usable on a daily basis. So if you want a car that just rev out like crazy and that's what you have to do, you have to push it to make it go, the Honda S2000 is going to be your choice. That's just the better car for that. But if you want a car that on a day-to-day, everyday driving, you're not all the way on it all the time, the Boxster is the better choice. It just has more power at a lower RPM that you're going to use more often. Plus it costs less, you know, on the used market. What would you do? Would you get the Honda S2000? Would you get the Boxster? Get down in the comments and let me know. Thanks for watching. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to comment, make sure to like. That thumbs down button, that doesn't work. I'm sorry, you know, we're trying to fix it, but it doesn't work. So upvotes only, please. Thanks for watching.